The air hung heavy, with the scent of salt and brine, as Kaelen scanned the horizon. He adjusted the worn leather strap of his spyglass, the coarse fabric digging into his calloused hands. No sign of the Crimson Fleet. Relief, sharp and quick, sliced through the ever-present knot of anxiety in his gut. He wasn't cut out for this life, a life lived on the edge of a blade, his heart forever at the mercy of the treacherous sea. Yet, here he was, the fisherman's son, forced to play pirate hunter, to protect the very people who mocked his father's humble trade. "Any sign of them, Kaelen?" Kaelen turned, his gaze softening as it fell upon the woman hurrying towards him, her fiery hair flying in the wind like a banner of defiance. Lyra. Even the wind, it seemed, couldn't tame her spirit, couldn't dull the fierce brilliance burning in her eyes. "Nothing yet, Lyra," he said, forcing his voice to remain even. Lyra came to stand beside him, her presence oddly reassuring. They'd grown up together. Her father, the village's master shipbuilder, and his, the best fisherman for miles around. Despite their differences, Lyra, bold and adventurous, always yearning for the world beyond their tiny island, and Kaelen, content with the rhythm of the waves and the familiar scent of the sea. A bond had formed between them, woven from shared sunsets and childhood dreams. "They can't hide forever," Lyra stated, her tone laced with the unwavering certainty that always left Kaelen slightly awed. "They could always be a rumor, a whisper on the wind," he said, knowing how much she hated that possibility. "The Crimson Fleet is real, Kaelen. I've seen their ships on the horizon, their sails painted the color of blood. And I've seen what they leave behind." Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "Empty homes, shattered families, fear." Kaelen looked away, the image of his own parents, faces etched with worry, flashing before his eyes. Their tiny island had known peace for generations, but the rumors of the Crimson Fleet, whispers at first, had grown louder, casting a shadow over their once carefree existence. "We need the Sunstone, Lyra. We need to protect our home," Kaelen said, the weight of their mission pressing down on him like a physical burden. The Sunstone, legend had it that the ancient artifact, said to hold the power of the very sun, was the only thing that could repel the Crimson Fleet. But finding it meant venturing into the Whisperwind Sea, a treacherous expanse of ocean, feared even by the most seasoned sailors. "Then let's find it," Lyra said, her gaze sweeping across the endless expanse of the sea, her eyes alight with a fire that mirrored the setting sun. "Together." The journey to the Whisperwind Sea was fraught with peril. Storms lashed at their small boat, the waves rising up like angry beasts. Kaelen used all his skill as a fisherman, honed over years on the water, to navigate the treacherous currents, while Lyra's unshakable belief in their mission was a beacon of hope in the darkest of storms. Finally, after what felt like an eternity lost at sea, they reached the legendary island rumored to hold the Sunstone. As they made landfall, a sense of otherworldly calm washed over them, a stark contrast to the tempest they'd just endured. The island itself was a labyrinth, a maze of ancient ruins overgrown with verdant foliage. Vines, thick as a man's arm, snaked their way up crumbling stone walls, whispering secrets in the breeze. They pressed onward, deeper into the island's heart, following an old map entrusted to them by the village elder, his weathered face etched with a lifetime of stories about the island's magic. It was during a particularly treacherous climb, as they scaled a crumbling stone wall, that Kaelen saw it, the spark of fear in Lyra's usually fearless eyes. "Hold still," he whispered, his hand steady on her arm, feeling her trembling through the rough fabric of her shirt. He quickly secured a rope, their fingers brushing for a moment. Her touch sent a jolt through him, unfamiliar and unsettling. With a deep breath, Lyra nodded, her fear momentarily forgotten. They continued, trusting each other implicitly as they navigated hidden passageways and ancient traps. Each challenge they overcame, each danger they faced, brought them closer, forging a bond stronger than the steel of a pirate's sword. Finally, after what seemed like days lost in the heart of the labyrinth, they reached a clearing. In the center, bathed in ethereal light that seemed to emanate from within, lay the Sunstone. But their awe was short-lived. Standing between them and their prize, their faces obscured by fearsome masks, were two figures. The Crimson Fleet had found them. Fear coiled in Kaelin's gut. They were outnumbered and outmatched. The Crimson Fleet pirates, their eyes gleaming with malice, circled them like sharks scenting blood. Before Kaelen could react, one of the pirates lunged. But Lyra was quicker. She moved with the grace of a seasoned warrior, her years of sparring with the village boys, much to their chagrin, finally paying off. Her fist connected with the pirate's jaw, a satisfying crack echoing in the silence of the clearing. Kaelen drew his own sword, the steel feeling strangely unfamiliar in his calloused hands. He wasn't a fighter, but the sight of Lyra, brave, reckless Lyra, risking everything for their home, unleashed a primal need to protect within him. They fought side by side, a whirlwind of desperation and determination. Kaelen, with his knowledge of the sea, anticipated his opponent's moves, predicting the ebb and flow of battle like the changing tides. Lyra fought with a ferocious grace, her every movement fueled by a burning desire to protect their home. But the pirates were relentless. Kaelen felt a sharp sting in his arm as a pirate's blade found its mark. He gritted his teeth, ignoring the pain, knowing that the fate of their island rested on their shoulders. As one of the pirates raised his sword, intending to strike Lyra down, Kaelen reacted on instinct. He jumped in front of her, the force of the blow sending him crashing to the ground, the impact knocking the air from his lungs. He lay there, his vision blurry, listening to the frantic beating of his heart, a strange calmness washing over him. Kaelen, the anguish in Lyra's voice, sliced through him, deeper than any blade ever could. Then, everything went dark. He awoke to the feel of a cool cloth on his forehead. His vision swam as he focused on Lyra, her face a mask of concern. "Easy there," she said, her voice shaky. "We're safe now." It was only then that Kaelen realized the clearing was empty. The pirates were gone. I failed," he whispered, his voice raspy. "No," Lyra said fiercely, cupping his face in her hands, her touch electric. "You saved me." Her eyes, reflecting the warm light emanating from the Sunstone, softened. "We saved each other." Kaelen found himself lost in those eyes, a vastness he could drown in. For the first time, he saw not just his childhood friend, but a woman of strength and courage, her heart as boundless as the sea itself. With the Sunstone in hand, they made their way back to their village. The return journey, though still perilous, felt different. Their bond, forged in the crucible of danger and sacrifice, held them together, guiding them home. As their small boat finally pulled into the harbor, the rising sun painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, they were met with cheers. Relief and gratitude poured from the villagers, their faces reflecting the same joy that bloomed in Kaelen's chest. They had faced the Crimson Fleet, faced their fears and their doubts, and they had emerged victorious. The Sunstone, pulsing with a gentle warmth, was proof of their victory. As they handed the artifact to the village elder, a sense of peace settled over Kaelen, a peace that went beyond the mere absence of danger. Later that day, as the village celebrated, Kaelen found himself drawn to the cliffs overlooking the sea. He found Lyra already there, her hair ablaze in the setting sun. They stood together in silence, the vastness of the ocean spread out before them, a mirror reflecting their own intertwined destinies. "Thank you," Lyra said, breaking the silence. "For what?" "For everything," she said, turning to him. Her eyes filled with an emotion that sent a shiver down Kaelen's spine. "For believing, for fighting, for saving me." She leaned closer, her lips brushing against his ear. Her words carried on the salty breeze. "For seeing me, Kaelen." And in that moment, under the watchful gaze of the painted sky, their lips met. It was a kiss that tasted of salt and sunlight, of victory hard won and a future yet to be written. The Sunstone may have protected their home, but it was their shared journey, their unspoken promise whispered on the wind, that had ignited a different kind of magic, a spark brighter than the sun itself.